Okay, guys, I'm right here with Dustin, aka TheNextDecade, and
LadyKitKatie. She goes by LadyKitKatie online. But yeah, what up, everyone? Hope you all are doing well. What is this? A crossover episode? It's like the fourth one I've filmed since I got out here.
It's like a decade versus decade crossover. But what exactly is real?
What is real?
What are you? Who are you? Oh, that explains everything because I'm that too. Okay, some of you guys are probably thinking, wait, what? I thought you were talking about Disney today. Well, regarding Disney, I just don't feel comfortable talking about it, so to speak, because of real life events happening within the world right now that I don't want to go into detail because reasons. When the time comes, maybe I'll consider it, but I don't know just yet. So, Dustin from TheNextDecade. He's definitely been involved in the con scene, I would say at least the same amount of time as I have. He's been involved with tokusatsu way longer than I have, ever since his youth. I know that for a fact. I didn't get started with Japanese tokusatsu until 2010, 2011 with Kyoryu Sentai Jurenja and then Shinkenger, which led to me loving this mofo right here. Yeah, he's been involved on the internet for quite a while. But not only is he also a cosplayer, he's also a prop maker, and he also has his 3D printing business. He's also an influence in the tokusatsu community, and even providing helpful tools. I even talked about him from time to time on some of my other stuff, including building my Shin Ichigo cosplay just by using his regular Ichigo helmet template, but just modifying it to give it the Shin aesthetic. And before I forget, he also has his own docu-series that he's currently working on called Tamashi, I think it is, where basically he's just gathering around, or not gathering around, but just gathering a bunch of people in the tokusatsu community, just basically talking tokusatsu, and him exploring various parts of Japan that actually do have an influence on, like, the scenery that's been portrayed in tokusatsu. Like, he's definitely visited the one scene, or the one area where Tsukasa did his first henshin in the first episode of Decade, and also the very iconic quarry, places like that. And he's also got the chance to actually meet a couple of people involved with any kind of form of tokusatsu, whether it be from the shows, films, or even just the merch. In fact, he actually has connections with some of the people that actually are responsible for, like, the design of the Shinkocho Seiho boxes, or at least boxes similar to the shape. Just boxes similar to the shape of these, though apologies about the shameless plug. But outside of that, you guys are probably asking, what did we do? Well, we just went to Nakano Broadway, and also got to try some yakitori, which was delicious. And we also got to talk a couple of geeky things, as well as share our personal love and interests for Kamen Rider, as well as cosplay, and even talked a little bit of Transformers. Not a whole lot, it was just him, his wife Katie, and me just hanging out for the day. And it's funny because one time I was actually just randomly watching him stream one time. I just randomly typed in the comment section in the chat, just being like, "Is mayonnaise an instrument?" And his reaction was like the most Steve from Blue's Clues kind of reaction when he was like, "Is that you?" "What? It is you! What? Oh my god, I can't believe you're here!" Not exactly word for word, but the energy was kind of similar to how Steve actually did it in that one video. So I was just watching him stream, and then I just told him what was new with me, between just me saying, "Oh, nothing much, just going to Japan to see Shin Kamen Rider, as well as my Japanese family, and a lot of other things." And he was just randomly like, "We should hang out." And hung out we did.
Standing by.
Yes, sir.
Complete. It's neck-breakingly good.
Now, of course, I already showed off my merch in a previous video that I did. And I mentioned that I went to Book Off for any kind of used merch, or even just any kind of merch that I could find that's at a reasonable price. So it was actually my first time actually experiencing Nakano Broadway, which, let's just say, there's this store in my area called Big Fun, which has both retro collectibles and modern collectibles, but it's jam-packed, wall-to-wall, aisle-to-aisle of merch. Think of it like that, but except add what I just described, Big Fun, with levels. That's how fucking crowded it was. Well, not crowded in the sense of, oh my god, there's a lot of people here, but just like, there's like a section there that has a lot of anime. There's a section here that has tokusatsu. There's an imposter among us. There's another section that has books. There's another section that has Disney Star Wars crossovers before Disney bought the license, with the roundabout playing in the background. And there was even a cell that was on display for Domonkashi from Mobile Fighter G Gundam that we saw. And it was going for like $165, I'd want to say. And I was just like, hey, look at that thing. And I was like, take this, my love, my anger. And he added, and all my money. Yeah, he's a very energetic guy. And while we were hanging out, I also talked to him about my experience over at Tokyo Disney. And some things that I actually learned over there was, I don't mean to make this video discriminatory by any stretch of the imagination, but this actually happened when we were, when my Japanese family and I were getting in line for the Peter Pan ride. And we were just in line waiting for our turn to go on the ride and usual amusement park stuff. But there was this group of family, and they were a Chinese family. And there was one kid that was standing on those safety bars, or those divider bars, to like help divide the line into certain sections. And obviously the kids weren't actually behaving, and so people were just telling them to be careful, or as they say it over there in Japan, abunai. And so when people are saying, abunai, 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 the people actually weren't listening, and the employees over at the Peter Pan ride actually had to stop the ride. Unfortunately, it wasn't just that incident. In regards to just tourism in general, from people visiting from China to there, from what I've heard, the Chinese are like the worst kind of tourists that you can actually come across, because while one of the misconceptions people have said was that Japan is one of the cleanest countries in the country, or in the world, it's not entirely clean. I mean, it's tidier compared to here in the US, but just not like super clean, like grab Mr. Clean, just tore around like a Tasmanian devil to clean everything up. That was a clean, because there actually were a couple of bridges while we're riding on the subway that actually had graffiti on there. Some of that was caused by the Chinese tourists. I mean, I still don't know about any other things related to tourism in Japan. Yeah, that was a very interesting thing for me to learn. Not to hate on China or the Chinese or anything. If anybody knows more about tourism and any kind of stuff that they like to do over in Japan, then please feel free to correct me in the comment section below. Sorry for sucking at this kind of description. But yeah, he also got to go to Japan for 2023 for the sake of seeing Kamen Rider as well. And he actually got to see it before me, because even though technically the 16th was my day flying from here to there, he got to see it before me and definitely recommended it to me. But like I mentioned before in the part 1 video where I experienced jet lag, I was just more like, oh my god, I'm so tired. I can't sit up for this movie. I need to rest. So yeah, I definitely listened to my body in that regard. And before I forget, just let me pull up my Huddle popcorn bucket. I definitely spoke way too soon in my Gundam factory video. But glad to get my Huddle popcorn bucket while I did. But some of the things that he actually bestowed on me was a Gamba Rising card of Tycoon, as well as O's Tatoba, and of course everybody's favorite Ghost. Well, luckily, since I'm not a fan of Ghost, I still treasure this as much as possible, as much as I do with anything else that's bestowed on me. But like I mentioned in my merch video, I still have that GO sticker set right here that was bestowed on me by my sister via omiyage. These were my omiyage, as well as a roller coaster that he actually got to see for some sort of Evangelion Shin Kamen Rider crossover at one of the places over there. But since I've never seen Evangelion, nor do I plan on doing so, I still welcome this as well. Now, as for what I got him, well, unfortunately, unlike my Japanese family, I didn't have anything in preparation for him, so we were actually messing with some of the gachapon machines that were actually in Nakano Broadway, and they had this little machine that actually had like keychains of certain logos for shows for Kamen Rider, where they had Agito, which he got, and also Ghost, and I think also Hibiki and a couple of others. Double, I think, as well. Unfortunately, I got the short end of the stick from when I tried it, and I got Ghost twice. One of the two I yeeted out of existence, and the other I just gifted to him, and I was like, since you got me something, here you go. And we were both just laughing our asses off. Oh my god, I still feel embarrassed. Though the funny thing is, at the start when I actually got a few years into the tokusatsu fandom, and I was pretty much praising Decade as like the best writer of all time, although personally I still hold to that. There were a couple of other people that had nicknames between Kickhopper, Tendo, Decade, obviously that being Dustin. I was kind of getting into that kind of scene as well, and I chose Decade, but unfortunately, back then, he and I were having a personal beef, or at least I was having the most beef in comparison. Let's just say the only way that I could describe it is, think of like the Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry episode of SpongeBob. Think of it like that, but like the beef has been amplified by like 5,000 or 5,000 or whatever. And actually, it wasn't until later on when I decided to cool my jets and just accept the fact that, hey, it's not worth fighting over such ridiculous things, especially in that case, since, well, he's got a business labeled as the next decade, and I don't know, I just don't want to come across as a gatekeeper for saying this, but I actually decided just to play things safe, and while I have changed my alias a couple of times, eventually switching over to Sekai no Hakaisha cosplay at the time, and then eventually production, so yeah, let's just say I definitely feel bad about that situation. But luckily, after some time and some consideration, he and I are cool with things. And also, Dustin, in case you're wondering, yes, I would like to be in your documentary. I'm not in a rush, so take your time. And I also got to ask him how cosplay has changed his life, so here's his response.
If it wasn't for the like small little art things I was doing, I was always gonna go kind of like crazy because I always needed like something to do. I've always been like an artsy kind of kid, and like I discovered cosplay like right on my way out of high school. Fix you right there. There we go. I'm a little bit too tall for this. So like I just very quickly threw together like this really crappy Kamen Rider costume with a bike helmet and a cardboard mask, and I actually ran into other cosplayers that were also kind of doing the same thing at my first convention, and that's how I made my first friends in Tokusatsu. Was that it was other dudes that are like, oh, you're trying to be Kamen Rider? I'm trying to be Kamen Rider too. And then the thing that I found through not just cosplay but also just Tokusatsu in general is that that commonality of something that we all enjoyed when we were younger can lead to stronger friendships when we're older. And I think through crafting and through being a fan of Tokusatsu, I would not be the same person without them. I feel like they've made me a better person than who I was at the time, and I'm always doing my best to try to promote it to other people because it's fun. Whether it's you're just watching a show or you're dressing up from it or you're just dressing up, get out there and make something for yourself and have fun. That's the biggest part about cosplays, having fun and making some friends. So go do it. I did it. You should too.
What he said. But anyways, it's a pleasure honoring meeting you.
It was an absolute pleasure to meet you too. I remember one of the first times we talked was because we were having an issue with the naming thing. Yeah. And I want to tell this story real quick because like I was so nervous because at the time I used just the name Decade for a little while, and there's some other dudes that were using the name Decade too, and some of them were real shitheads. And I was trying to explain to him like, you might want to change your name because you don't want to get lumped into those assholes too. So I switched to the next Decade, and then right after he switched to Sekai no Hakaisha cosplay. So like I think it both works because any way you look at it, we're both Decade cosplayers. We're just not those Decade cosplayers. You right? You did?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, as for my response to that question, as I've already mentioned, my friend Emmy actually exposed to me of a cosplay, or at least I had a self-discovery with it, and just like getting into the con scene is the reason why I actually got invested, because she was attending cons before I started doing that, and it actually sparked an interest, and I've been attending yearly ever since, and I've been making cosplays nonstop. I've also been sharing my interest of Kamen Rider to some of my friends as well, and some of them actually got into it because of me. I just feel like sharing that camaraderie with them, as long as you actually gain their trust without shoving it down their throats, and just having that sense of camaraderie with them, and always knowing that you'll have their back as they will for yours. That's actually what matters the most in any kind of friendship. I don't mean to bring this up in front of Emmy as well, but it really saved my life, and honestly, I really don't know where I would be without this, and even with the friends and the moral support that I have. Not to pontificate on attention or anything, it's definitely changed my life for better. That's all I could say. I just want to thank everyone for not only the support, but also my Japanese family as well, for just making like the best trip possible out of any other trip that I've had. I mean, I'm still not perfect and I still have a lot to learn, like I've mentioned in other videos before, but I still hope to improve as time goes on. And as for Dustin, arigatou gozaimasu. And since I'm wearing a Decade shirt, and in honor of a very special writer that he and I both like, Masahiro Inoue, happy birthday to you. I hope it's a great one. I hope to see you in August.
Oh, hey! I've seen this movie.
Me too!